Okay.
Lena, are we unmuted?
We can hear you, Barbara. You can start.
Okay, I'm going to call to order the planning board meeting of the Township of Old Bridge. And I'd like everyone to stand and salute the flag. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, I'm sitting in for Dean tonight, so he's out of town. So, Dawn, will you do roll call, please?
Absolutely. Adequate notice of this meeting of the Old Bridge Township Planning Board has been provided in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act at least 48 hours prior to the commencement of the meeting by promptly posting in the municipal complex an announcement giving the time, date, location, and agenda of this meeting, mailing such copy of the announcement to the Home News and Tribune, and filing a copy with the municipal clerk. Mr. De Palma,
Here.
Mr. Renna,
Here.
Mr. Lauer,
Here.
Mr. Schmitz,
Here.
Mr. Lenning,
Here.
Mr. Petty,
Here.
Mr. Garcia,
Here.
Chairwoman Cannon,
Here.
Mr. Sardillo,
Here.
Ms. Sawant.
Here,
Okay, we have the minutes for August 3rd, 2021. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
Okay, Mr. De Palma, who seconded?
Ernie.
Oh, Ernie. Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. De Palma,
Yes.
Mr. Renna,
Yes.
Mr. Lauer,
Yes.
Mr. Schmitz,
Yes.
Mr. Lenning,
Yes.
Mr. Petty,
Yes.
Chairwoman Cannon,
Yes. Okay, we have a request for extension of time, 03, application 03-19P Vista at Old Bridge LP Block 2000, Lot 79.11, the extension of time to August 5th, 2022. Ina, do you want to have anything to say about that? We can't hear you.
I think we have the applicant as a panelist, and maybe he can explain to you.
Okay.
Richard, can you hear me?
How about now?
Yes, we can hear
I'm
you.
sorry. Yes, I expected my attorney, Dion, he seems to be late. Briefly, we have put in an application again this year for affordable housing on the site. It was actually just submitted on the 31st of August. So this, we want to make sure that the zoning stayed in place while we continue to pursue the funding and tax credits for the project. So that's the reason for the extension.
Board members, I just want you to recall that in 2019, Vista at Old Bridge was a project that came in front of the planning board. This was the 100% affordable project, affordable housing project that was located at the intersection of East Greystone Road and Marlborough Road. I was in front of the board with an amendment to the Crossroad redevelopment plan for only a portion of lot 14.5, and after the plan was approved, an application was filed with the planning board for 72 affordable units. This project is a part of our court-approved housing element and fair share plan. If you may recall, there are two affordable housing projects that were a part of our court-approved plan. One was the Marlborough Road site, and the other was 200 Lawrence Parkway, which I will be presenting later in this meeting. But this is the same project, and they had applied for low-income tax credits last year. Unfortunately, there was very tough competition, and if I may recall, I think they just lost it by a couple of dollars. They have refiled the application. I think the application is much stronger this time. So we are hoping that we will be able to get the tax credit money for the project.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone have any questions? Anyone from the board? Okay, well, good luck.
Thank
Hope
you.
you're successful this year. I mean, the state keeps wanting us to do affordable housing. I think they should give us the assistance we need to make it happen. Okay, if there's no questions or comments, we'll have ask for a vote on the resolution to grant the extension of time to August 5th, 2022 for Vista at Old Bridge LP. Do I have a motion?
Madam Chairman, before we
okay,
the
sorry.
resolution, I just noticed there was a typo in the resolution I sent over. I'm not sure if it's the same, if it was corrected before it was circulated, but in the now therefore be it resolved paragraph at the very end, it has the original approvals date mentioning August 6, 2002 or 20,219. That's incorrect. It should be 2019. So when we adopt the resolution, I just want to be noted that it has the correct date on there.
Oh, okay. So noted.
Thank you.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the resolution for the extension?
I'll move it with the corrections.
I'll second it.
Okay, Dawn, you have those. Who did those?
Yes, I have
Okay.
those. Mr. De Palma,
Yes.
Mr. Renner,
Yes.
Mr. Lauer,
Yes.
Mr. Schmitz,
Yes.
Mr. Lenning,
Yes.
Mr. Petty,
Yes.
Mr. Garcia,
Yes.
Chairwoman Cannon.
Yes. Good luck. Okay, the redevelopment plan ordinance consistency review.
Hey, Barbara, could we do the two continuances first? This way then we don't have to keep the attorney online.
Okay, sure.
Thank you.
Okay, so the first continuance is 10-2020 PRD management. Major site plan preliminary and final with C variances, and they are requesting to be continued to December 7th, 2021 with further notice. Is there anybody that does the attorney want to say anything or?
I don't know if anyone from Mr. Pape's office is here. I don't see them on here.
Yeah, I had requested that Mr. Pape be here, but I don't see him. I wasn't able to get a hold of him today.
All
I can
right,
give some background on this request.
okay,
This is, as the board's well aware of this property, this is the one that we're currently under litigation with, that's pending before the court, as well as their second application, which is what we're discussing this evening, and the continuance they're requesting. We've been going back and forth with settlement potential settlements. The latest is, though, that they have come up with a totally new proposed development for the site. Apparently, I have not seen anything on it yet. I've only been told on the phone by Mr. Pape, as well as other attorneys for the actual property owner, that, not for the developer necessarily, for the property owner of this site. And I've been advised that they are, within the next week or two, going to be filing a new application for a residential development of this site. Apparently, they have already met with the representatives of the residences and the associations in the rear behind them. Apparently, what I'm told, this is all hearsay, but I'm told that they're in favor of it. In fact, they are expected to appear in support of it. And that the only caveat is that application is going to be going before the zoning board because they need use variance relief. So that application is going to be filed within the next few days, or excuse me, the next few weeks. And they're asking for some time to adjourn this. At the same time, they're going to be requesting an adjournment of the trial to put these in abeyance until they can go forward with their residential application before the zoning board. And if that all works out and they get approvals that they're satisfied with, then they will be withdrawing this application and withdrawing their appeal with the court.
okay. Anybody have any questions or Need clarification? So we're just gonna vote to continue it, and then it may not even be before us, or more
Correct.
likely will not be before us.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. All right, if there's no comments, then can we have a motion for the continuance?
I'll move it.
Okay, moved by Ernie, second.
I'll second it.
Who was that?
Mr. De Palma,
Yes.
Mr. Renner,
Yes.
Mr. Lauer,
Yes.
Mr. Mamakis? You're muted, sir.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Schmitz,
Yes.
Mr. Lenning,
Yes.
Mr. Petty,
Yes.
Mr. Garcia,
Yes.
Chairwoman Cannon.
Yes. Okay, the second continuance is application 01-2021P Bright Point Housing LLC for preliminary and final site plan with C variances. They want to be continued to October 5th, 2021 with further notice. Is the attorney here for that?
I'm here.
application? Okay,
So
wanna-
sure, this is for a multifamily development on Route 34 at 46 Route 34. We are working with the neighboring homeowners association who had contacted Vina with some issues. We met with them 2 weeks ago and we're still working out those issues. So we are hoping that by the October date, we have time to further meet and we will be able to present our case.
okay, thank you. Does anybody from the board have any questions? Does our attorney have any comments?
I have nothing.
Okay. All right, is there a motion to grant the continuance of Bright Point Housing LLC to October 5th with further notice?
I'll move it.
Okay, moved by Mr. Lauer, second.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Mr. De Palma. Roll call, please.
Mr. De Palma,
Yes.
Mr. Renner,
Yes.
Mr. Lauer,
Yes.
Mr. Mamakis,
Yes.
Mr. Schmitz,
Yes.
Mr. Lenning,
Yes.
Mr. Petty. I'm sorry, Mr. Petty?
Yes.
Thank you. Didn't hear you. Mr. Garcia,
Yes.
Chairwoman Cannon.
Yes. Okay, that's the continuances.
Thank
We
you.
have- You're welcome. And we have the redevelopment plan / ordinance consistency review. Ordinance 2021-18, an ordinance of the Township of Old Bridge adopting redevelopment plan for the intersection of Jake Brown Road and State Highway 9 and the intersection of White Oak Lane and Jake Brown Road, Township of Old Bridge, New Jersey. Nina?
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, board members. Dawn, can you please share your screen?
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. So board members, tonight I'm in front of you with a short presentation. Dawn has already shared a copy of the draft plan with the board members. Tonight I'm in front of you to review the plan for consistency with the master plan. And before I talk about the consistency, because there is a section within the plan that actually talks a lot about how the plan is consistent with the master plan. And if in some instances there are newer recommendations, then the newer recommendations have been cited throughout the plan. So if you may recall, on April 6, 2021, I was in front of you with the area investigation study for the area that is located at the intersection of Jake Brown Road and US Highway 9 and the intersection of White Oak Lane and Jake Brown Road. Next slide. On April 13th, the town council designated the area which is located and is on your screen now as an area in need of redevelopment. It contains 16 lots. The adoption of the redevelopment plan is the second step of the multi-step process. This draft plan had its first hearing in front of the Township Council on August 10th. There will be a second hearing next week, but prior to that, the redevelopment law requires that the planning board reviews the plan for consistency with the current master plan. This plan, which is in front of you, includes the township's revision for the redevelopment area and provides a framework for the development and redevelopment within the designated area. The plan establishes permitted land uses, bulk requirements, design standards for any new development within the redevelopment area. Next slide. The area includes 16 parcels and encompasses of 823 acres of land. The area is located at the intersection of US Highway 9 and J. Brown Road and White Oak Lane and J. Brown Road. The majority of the parcels within the area are vacant with the exception of Glenwood Country Club Golf Course, Old Bridge Rifle and Pistol Club, a property owned by the Board of Education, and then the Old Bridge commuter parking lot. It also contains 2 farms. The study area is covered by 5 zones. Majority of the parcels are covered by 2 residential zones, which is R120 and R40 zone, 2 commercial zones, which is EDO3 and OG2 office general zone, and then 1 other zone that covers a portion of the parcel is ST1, which is the special development zone. Next slide. So to understand the plan, I think it's quite important to understand what is surrounding the plan, because then it helps you visualize as to why are the land uses proposed the way they are proposed based on this plan. So the redevelopment area is in close vicinity to the already approved GDP for Oaks development, containing 1,312 residential units and approximately 600,000 square feet of commercial space. Dawn, can you just point to the area where Oaks at Glenwood is? No, that's the existing Glenwood apartment.
Oh, this one.
Oh,
Sorry.
yes, no problem. So Oaks at Glenwood contains 256 single-family homes that are under construction. K. Hovnanian is developing them. We recently, the planning department recently received an application for the non-residential component, which is along Route 9, which is Regency Center, for the 600,000 square feet of commercial space. Like I said, 256 single family homes, and the rest are mostly multifamily units. Of the total 1,312 units, there are 138 units which are affordable to low and moderate income households. The phase 1 of the project is on its way. You will see that in the surrounding neighborhood, there are, you know what, I'm having some glitch with my, Dawn, can you stop sharing for a second?
Sure.
Board members, please bear with me. Now it's better. All right, you can start sharing again.
Okay.
Now you'll see that the redevelopment area abuts existing industrial section, which is the SD3 zone of the township that has gradually been transformed over years. This Devola concrete plant, Kennedy International, and similar trucking and industrial uses are located close to the intersection of Bordentown Road, Cheesequake Road, and Old Waterworks Road. This plan intends to leverage on the area assets and the proximity between the redevelopment area and the existing industrial section of the township to provide better infrastructure, alternate travel routes, and adequate connectivity to major highways. It is the intent of this plan to develop and redevelop the area through inclusion of large-scale mixed-use, multimodal, and sustainable developments while taking advantage of its proximity to major highways, transit bus stops, and approved residential and commercial development surrounding the area. Next slide. I think this slide is quite important because what you will see is these green areas and the blue areas that you see are all the environmental constraints that are on the property. So just to give you an example, if you look at the gun club side, there is a developable portion right in the center of the property. However, it is surrounded by wetlands and its transition areas. There are floodways in between. The same thing with the golf course. So the environmental constraints actually act as natural buffers to screen any use that goes on the developable portion. Same thing with Jake Brown Road north side and the Jake Brown Road south side. There are significant environmental constraints which provide a natural buffer from the residences as well as the highway. So if you look at the entire area, it's 836 acres. However, only half or less than half of the area is actually developable because there are significant constraints. Next slide. The proposed plan is divided into 4 new zones. The first one is the EDO2, which is a new zone quite identical to our EDO zones. So it's a blend between the EDO1 and the EDO3 zone, where commercial and retail activity is encouraged. Then we have the I3 zone, which is quite identical with the existing ST3 zone, which is the industrial zone. Then we have the commercial industrial zone on the west side of Highway 9, where we have the golf course. This zone is a zone that combines the ST3 and the EDO3 zone. So it allows commercial retail activity as long as industrial uses. And then I-10 zone, which is along the gun club property, which is nothing but our existing SD5 zone, which is again an industrial zone. The bulk standards are written such that although there are environmental constraints, these zone requirements have higher setbacks so that the uses on these properties are well shielded from any nearby residences. Next slide. The circulation plan. Now, this is something very important and critical to this plan. And I think it is also in terms of the review that the planning board needs to undertake, whether this proposed plan is consistent with the master plan or not. And in order to write this redevelopment plan, actually, we did a thorough review of the 2009 circulation plan element. What you see on the screen is the plan, the proposed plan or the circulation plan for 2025, which was included in the 2009 plan. Now, you will notice that the lines in purple are are roadway systems that were proposed in 2009 for any future development. You will notice that Jake Brown Road extension goes to the north and bifurcates into two roads, joins right where Old Waterworks Road is at 2 points. Then you have Jake Brown. Dawn, can you move your cursor as I speak? So now Jake Brown Road, yeah, that was Jake Brown Road extension. Now, if you go to 516 where Jake Brown Road is, yes, follow the curve. Yes, that was the proposed Jake Brown Road extension, which follows the curve, and then White Oak Lane extension goes on to meet Jake Brown Road at a T intersection. Then the White Oak Lane extension is continued. And when Oaks at Glenwood was being developed, Brunetti organization was asked to build this White Oak Lane connection. There was a caveat in their approvals that they have to build this connection before they proceed. Now that there is a new redeveloper who's interested in developing this piece, he has taken over the responsibility of building White Oak Lane extension. And he will be building that. I'll get into what is proposed in the next slide. Then we go on.
Sorry.
No problem. Then we go on to the Jake Brown Road east side, where you see the roadway system. Now, the problem with this proposed roadway was, given the environmental constraints, if we follow the guidelines of the 2009 plan, this property will be practically not developable because the roadway will be bang in the middle of the developable portion. The same thing applies to the property to the north of Jake Brown Road, where you see the where you see those proposed roadway system. The same thing applies. If we build the roadway based on that property will be technically not developable. So next slide. What we did is we did a thorough analysis of the existing roadway, proposed roadway system, and then we evaluated it for the environmental constraints. What you have on the screen is in red is what is being proposed by this plan. We looked at the constraints, we evaluated them, and came up with a better alternative. So, for example, Dawn, can you take your cursor to where Northwood Manor was? Right, Jake Brown Road extension from 516. No, Jake Brown Road.
Over here.
Yes. So the dotted line is what was proposed by the 2009 plan. The one you see in bold black is what is existing, and the one in red is what we are proposing based on the evaluation of environmental constraints, and so that we do not disturb the natural habitat, and we do not have to disturb the wetlands even further, so that there is minimum impact. Then White Oak Lane extension is being modified so that it goes and meets the White Oak Lane extension within the Oaks at Glenwood property. So it would meet right in front of that T intersection. In case of Jake Brown Road extension that goes to Bordentown, you see the dotted line. The Jake Brown Road was supposed to bifurcate in 2 locations, but that would mean that there would be significant impact to the environmental constraints. There are wetlands and floodplains there. So what we propose is this new roadway, which goes and meets right in front of Browns Road. So if you look at the overall circulation plan, the intent is the same. However, we have done further research. We have thoroughly examined the existing constraints on these properties and come up with a proposal that is better and offers better connectivity. When in 2000, when originally the traffic circulation plan was written, we didn't have this GIS data. We didn't have so much information. So although you see these changes, it is still consistent with the overall goal of the master plan. Dawn, you can take it to the next slide. So now, based on the current zoning, if we imagine that we don't have a redevelopment plan in place and the current zoning, which is mostly R40 and R120 zone, applies to all the properties, then there will be a total of 350 homes that could be created under the current zoning. But remember, this is the minimum. We have seen in the past when we had interveners with our housing plan, this is just a minimum number. We could always end up in much more. This is based on single family homes, but we could end up having multi-family homes if we don't have a redevelopment plan in place. Additionally, the OG zone could contain 185,000 square feet of non-residential space, and the EDO zone could contain 1.3 million of non-residential uses. Now, based on the American Community Survey, if you apply the typical household size in Old Bridge, which is 2.71, the 350 single-family homes could generate a population increase of 950 persons. And if we then apply the Rutgers multiplier for school kids, the current zoning could produce 371 school-age kids. Applying the job multipliers, the current zoning would produce 1,221 jobs. Now, the positives of this land use plan is that, one, there are no residences, so there will be no increase in the population. There will be no school kids that come out of the proposed plan, and the uses that are allowed in these newly created zones will generate up to 2,500 jobs for jobs within the township. Next slide. So you can stop sharing, actually, Dawn. Now, when it comes to consistency with the master plan, on page, I believe it is 7 of the report that was circulated, I had included language which shows why the plan is consistent. And one of the recommendations of our 2017 master plan re-examination report specifically talks about redeveloping Jake Brown Road and Route 9. Also, one of the recommendations is to re-evaluate the OG zone, because some of the parcels in the OG zone have approvals to build office plexes, but as you all know, with remote working and telecommunication, the demand for office space has gone down significantly. So although we do have approvals in place, nobody is building offices. So the master plan re-examination had a recommendation that this zone be re-evaluated to see what new non-residential uses can be accommodated in these zones. So overall, the plan that is in front of you is consistent with our master plan, and that is why I am in front of you, because it is the planning board's role to review if any redevelopment plan that is being presented is consistent with the master plan. So I conclude my presentation on this redevelopment plan. I'll take any questions.
Anybody have any questions? I have one regarding the circulation plan. I know you went over it with me, but there, is that somewhat flexible? I mean, it looks like it runs very close to the Oaks at Glenwood, that main road that's going to go out and carry the traffic out onto Bordentown. Is there going to
Right.
be?
So, Chairwoman, I actually, Nicole, myself, we have been very working very closely with the concept plans, and we have been evaluating the concept plans. We have been discussing it internally too. We have ensured that if you look into the plan, there are stringent buffer requirements. So although there is a roadway, the development is not going to be as close to the roadway or as close to the residences. There is, if I'm not mistaken, along that roadway, there is a 75-foot landscape buffer requirement, where anybody who comes and develops that portion would have to heavily landscape it to provide adequate buffering. Plus, the developable portion on the, let me see, the west side of J. Brown Road. Dawn, can you please put up that circulation, just that slide again?
Just give me a second.
Yeah, the map which has environmental constraints.
Hold on. I closed it, so give me a second. I gotta reopen it.
Sure.
Yeah, sorry. Well, in the meantime, can I just ask another question? With the redevelopment designation, does that just stay indefinitely, or does it have a time period which the zoning could be changed?
So this redevelopment plan would become the new zoning for the area. So this would be the zoning that would continue to remain, just like it would be a part of the zoning map, and it will remain just like we had Crossroads. It was created. What typically happens is when you adopt a redevelopment plan, it becomes a part of the zoning map over the, like, hopefully development occurs and it gets developed the way it is designed in the plan. And that's what the hope is for this area, that it will get developed based on the plan. So this will be the new zoning, and it will remain until we adopt another redevelopment plan or we amend it if need be after a few years. So, Dawn, can you take me back to the environmental constraints map? Yes, thank you. So this, can you hover around the Jake Brown, where the text says Jake Brown Road? Right. So, Barbara, if you notice there, no, not that Jake Brown Road, to the other side. Yes. If you notice, the Oaks single family home development is further up in the north east quadrant where the circle is. So any non-residential development is going to be closer to, Dawn, move your cursor on the left side. Yes, it's going to be in that area. The single family homes are further up. Regardless, the plan requires that there'll be a significant buffer along Jake Brown Road. So these buildings or the non-residential development will not be so close to the single family homes. So the plan ensures that there is adequate buffer.
Okay. Thank you. Does anybody else have any comments or questions?
You can stop sharing, Dawn. Thank you.
No, I just have one comment. I know, Venus, so thank you. I know I've seen this a number of times now. I think this kind of goes along with just setting the township up for less traffic on that road. I know a lot of people have been coming out potentially saying that, this is going to cause all this extra traffic. We know that, at 350 houses, that 350 houses will turn into 3,000 units, 4,000 units really quick. It's happened on other parcels of land. You look at the size of the properties, there's no one going to buy that property and put only 350 homes up. They are going to come for different zoning requirements and things like that. That would explode. We would go from 350 houses to probably 10 times that. We would have thousands of residents, extra, infrastructure issues. We would have all those wetlands. We just seen what had happened with Ida coming through, and even before that with Henri. Obviously, although our town wasn't as affected as others, but just in and around there. We don't know what happened back in those wetlands with the amount of rain that came. So I think when you look at what this plan is and kind of what they're looking to do with this, I think this sets the township up for good ratables in the future and consistent ratables in the future. These light warehouses are kind of where not only warehouse businesses go, right? You have gymnastic studios go there. I've seen karate studios. We've seen a number of different types of businesses go there just because of the size of the space. And I think as we kind of go into the future, more and more people are going to want this more wide open space as opposed to the more constraint of the commercial property. So I think this is great. I look forward to the development that's going to happen on here.
Agree with you, Eric. This is Joseph Petty. I do agree with that. Commercial property is the way to go, not to put housing up. If you look at housing and start putting more up, it's a direct hit on our school system also. Our schools are crowded to begin with. Adding more people in this town without going ahead and building schools, you're just killing everything. The schools are crowded as it is. I have small children. It's ridiculous.
I have a comment. Being a good job in explaining it and also highlighting the benefits to it and also the disadvantages if we don't go forward with that. Also, the connection made on the, I guess, was it the southwest portion of Jake Brown Road for 516 will also alleviate the traffic that builds up on 516. If that's used as a viable access point through and out to the other Jake Brown Road to Route 9. But the overall, as Councilman De Palma said, impact to the town is, and the ratables that will bring in for years to come, and the offset of less housing is key to this community, and I think it's a long-term benefit. So I'm all for it and to move this thing forward.
Anybody else have any comments?
I do have a comment, and maybe it's a question. I was under the assumption that this development plan ordinance review was not related to a specific forthcoming application. I recall that that's what we discussed last go around. So this was really a rezoning of this area for future use, but not specific to an application. Now, part of the review, from what I understand, we're referring to the developer is making statements that he's going to build certain roadways. So now my presumption was incorrect. This is relative to a specific application that we have yet to see.
So, Mr. Renna, the redevelopment plan is never written specific to somebody. It's usually the plan or the vision the township has for the area. The circulation plan or the review of the 2009 plan, circulation plan, was done so that we could see that in future, if this area gets developed, what is the traffic route or how do we want the traffic route to be? But when an area is designated as an area in need of redevelopment, there are developers that reach out to the redevelopment agency and show interest. So although there is a designated conditional redeveloper for the project, the plan is written based on the township's vision as to what they want to see in that area or what improvements we think would be quite essential for the successful development within the area.
Right. All right. Well, thank you for that explanation. That's part
We do,
one.
we do not have any application filed with the planning department for this area.
Thank you for the clarification. In terms of the traffic study, or at least the overview, we show the original plan could develop what could be 1,200 plus jobs based on the current zoning. I think the reference may be slide 13. On the bottom of that slide, it showed the new plan could develop a range of 700 to 2,500, which is a broad range.
Right.
Quite frankly, you take 700 to 2,500, split it down the middle, it's the 1,200, the base core that we currently have. So based on that current plan, I don't see an improvement in employment, quite frankly. But if I did go to the 2,500 jobs in the area, and majority of this program is industrial, how many large tractor trailer vehicles would we be bringing into the community based on this in this small area? And how would that impact traffic on 9 and 516? Certainly, primary focus would be during rush hour, early morning, late afternoon.
I could jump in here. As I said in the last comment, and Wiener laid it out pretty clearly, conversations have been made since I've been in the seat here in the town of connecting the Jake Brown Road on 516 out to Route 9, because we have Blonder and Tongue back there, which is a company that manufactures, has tractor trailers go down Jake Brown Road on not a lot, but there's also another property on there. That's the EDO 1 zone, which can be developed as another area, and people have shown interest in. So to get that connection out to Route 9, this whole route has been in the master plan for years. And correct me if I'm wrong, Vina. I've seen it, and part of the concept is to get that road out there and across, make that area out there redevelopment area, so it can spawn that type of industrial area that we need. And then, as everyone said, as Councilman Palmer and Mr. Petty said, cut down on that amount of the overwhelming development of housing that can take place on the Route 9 corridor, which will overload us completely with a massive amount of cars. Being in the seat, talking to a lot of warehouse companies and bringing the warehouse to the Waterworks Road area, the trucks mainly work on off hours. They don't travel a lot during the day, but then again, there are some companies that do. But that's the overall vision and concept that we've been looking at, is to make that connection, alleviate the traffic on 516. If we can make that a viable road going out and across. So that's part of the driver for this. And whatever comes afterwards would be great.
Right. And Steve, just so you know, my property rears Route 9. So there's an incredible amount of traffic volume noise that you could hear. And certainly a tractor trailer delivers a lot more than a regular vehicle. So are there any sound barriers for residential properties along Route 9 as part of this plan to help deflect or mitigate some of the noise that the homeowners would incur from additional tractor trailer volume?
So, Mr. Renner, as part of the plan, I had carefully studied where there are areas where residences are closer, and we're requiring that there be at least a 50-foot landscape berm, which kind of provides the screening as well as the a natural sound barrier. Also, if anybody who develops the parcel does not has a wetland or an environmental constraint piece, which is roughly 50 feet, only then they cannot provide the landscape berm. But otherwise, when they're closer to residences, then this will be a requirement. Also remember, this is just a redevelopment plan. This has the design standard, this has the regulations. But whenever anybody comes in front of for development, it will be again in front of the planning board. It will be reviewed by me, because right now I haven't seen the engineered drawings. Once they have engineered drawings, when an application is made to the planning board, Nicole and I will be reviewing it thoroughly. And at that time, if we notice that for some reason the plan didn't cover it, which I doubt, because we've reviewed it multiple times to make sure residences don't get affected. If there are areas where we need additional landscaping, we can, as a planning board member, we can always ask for those additional landscaping closer to the residences. Now, pertaining to the traffic, I know Steve did a thorough job of explaining, but I just also wanted to add, when we talk about warehouses or industrial uses, we're not talking about fulfillment centers. We're not talking about distribution centers. The plan does not allow those type of facilities, because when it's a fulfillment center, distribution center, that's when it attracts both. It has higher employment. So I know that there is an Amazon distribution center in Edison, which has roughly 4,000 employees. And then it's a huge traffic generator. These warehouses, these industrial uses are not a fulfillment center. The plan ensures that we don't allow that large scale type of these redevelopment areas, so that we can keep a control on the traffic that is generated.
Thank you for the explanation.
You're welcome. I'll take any
anybody
more
else
questions.
have any questions of Bina or any comments? Okay, when they come in, I mean, it's this one owner that's looking to develop this right now. They're going to come in phases, I would assume. I don't think he's going to try to develop everything,
That's correct.
simultaneously.
That's correct.
So, there may have to be adjustments made along the way, depending on that whole area around Cottrell too is confusing. I don't quite understand how that's going to work, but anyway. Anybody else have any questions or comments? I just think that even though I know we're not anti, but we prefer businesses and commercial as opposed to housing. I've lived in this town long enough that it's been like an ongoing war, but for the residences that have already been approved and are in place and people that have lived here, I think we have to make sure that this is not going to have a negative impact on the Oaks at Glenwood. Is a new development. It's attracting some new people into town, and we want to make sure that they're not going to be negatively impacted by, these changes.
Gentleman Cannon,
Yes.
over the past couple of years that I've been here, there's been a lot of developers and people interested in all of these parcels across the town in that particular area. A good handful prior to who's ever going to come in and build here have showed interest in on both sides of Route 9 and Jake Brown Road. So this has been prompted for, again, like I said, many years. Those connections and developers have shown it. There's plenty of them right now that show interest in Old Bridge. So this was the, I guess, catalyst to get this. The Kennedy Warehouse was the one that started this, I guess, evolution of Old Bridge. So there are other developers looking to come in here and build warehouses, depending on which ones build in what areas and in this particular area. So that's been seen as a location which is the best for their commerce to get in and out, go across to all the roadways we have in town. So I just wanted to lay it out a little bit that specifically for one, there are a lot interested in these parcels. A lot of people, I should say.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, so the next thing is that you want a resolution that's basically saying that it's ordinate, the consistency. The
That is
redevelopment.
Mr. Chairman, yes, that's what the requirement is under the redevelopment law. This gets, the redevelopment plan gets reviewed similar to a zoning ordinance. The board must determine if there's any inconsistencies, excuse me, with the master plan, and it can provide any other general comments, but that is really the requirement is the master plan consistency review.
Okay. So if there's no other comments, I guess we can see if there's a resolution to say that there are no inconsistencies and to vote yes. Is there a motion?
I'll move it.
I'll second.
Okay, moved by Mr. Mamaka, seconded by Mr. Lanning. Roll call, please.
Mr. De Palma,
Yes.
Mr. Renner,
Yes.
Mr. Lauer,
Yes.
Mr. Schmitz,
Yes.
Mr. Lenning,
Yes.
Mr. Petty,
Yes.
Mr. Garcia,
Yes.
Chairwoman Cannon.
Yes. Okay, then we have the similar that we're looking at for, is that the one? Yeah. The redevelopment for the Lawrence Parkway is the same thing, right? A consistency review?
That is correct. This is a plan that was actually prepared and adopted by the Township Council on February 8th, 2016. There is a plan in place. The proposed plan, the plan which is in front of you right now, replaces and rescinds the original 2016 plan. And the reason being is, as part of our court-approved housing element and fair share plan, there were two properties included for 100% affordable units. One was located at the intersection of East Greystone Road and Marlborough Road that contained 72 affordable units. And the other one was the former senior center site 200 Lawrence Parkway, which was slated to include 12 for sale affordable units. In 2016, Habitat for Humanity of Greater Plainfield and Middlesex County, Inc. expressed its desire to redevelop this parcel to construct 12 residential units that will be restricted to low and moderate income as determined under the Fair Housing Act. On March 31st, 2016, the Old Bridge Redevelopment Agency adopted a resolution designating Habitat for Humanity as the redeveloper. However, owing to disagreements on the level of contribution requested, Habitat for Humanity, the agency terminated the redeveloper's designation. After that, there was another developer that came in, but the difference was when Habitat for Humanity was interested in the parcel and the redevelopment plan was written, it had two multifamily buildings on the site. The plan, 2016 plan, allowed for multifamily apartment buildings. Over a period of time after Habitat for Humanity of Greater Plainfield left, it was a new developer by the name Costanza Builders who was interested in developing the parcels. He had come up with a proposal to create duplexes or 2 units which had a vertical wall, a common wall between 2 units, which was more consistent with the neighboring land uses. However, due to issues he was interested in getting funding from home grant program administered by the county, and he was unable to secure that funding, and so the project stalled. Now, in March of 2021, the agency was reached out by Morris Habitat for Humanity, and they seemed to be genuinely interested in developing the parcel. They came and presented their concept to the agency, which looked much more appealing because the 2-family homes that they were proposing were quite consistent with the bungalow style units that exist in the Lawrence Harbor area. The advantage was they were proposing an on-site driveway for each of this unit that would include 2 car parking spaces. There was an attached shed to each unit. So there was like a small backyard to the home. It was the same bungalow style units. And so the agency designated Morris Habitat as the new conditional redeveloper. They too are proposing 12 fee simple for sale single family semi-detached dwelling units. We had to amend the plan because, as I said, the previous plan was written for multifamily buildings, whereas Morris Habitat was proposing these semi-detached homes, which are more consistent with the land use. So when I looked at the plan, the style was different because we had our former planner write the plan. Since I was working on other redevelopment plans, I had developed a style for it. We just decided that we would come up with a new plan that includes the new regulations, the new statute requirements with consistency, and include the circulation plan just like we did for the previous redevelopment plan. So now the plan that is in front of you again is consistent with the master plan. Like I said, this site was slated for affordable housing and was part of our court-approved housing element and fair share plan. If you look at page, give me a second, I think it is page 7 of the draft plan that is in front of you, for 6 and 7, it talks about how the plan is consistent with the master plan and the housing element and fair share plan. Our master plan re-examination report also includes 200 Lawrence Parkway as a site to create 12 affordable units. The plan is consistent with the court-approved housing element and fair shares plan. And so that concludes my presentation. Actually, this plan will replace the 2016 plan. Dawn, actually, I didn't give you a chance to even share your screen with the presentation, but if you can just put up the presentation very quickly, I can skim through the slides. Next slide.
Second. There we go.
All right. This is the location of the property. The parcel is located at the intersection of Woodland Avenue, Lawrence Parkway, and Norwood Avenue. Next slide. The original plan, the 2016 plan, can you just click on it because I know there is animation. This was the original layout with 2 multifamily buildings with access from Woodland Avenue. This was the 2016 plan. Can you click again one more time? It will. This was the proposed elevation for the building, and you will see that this building looks huge compared to the bungalow style tiny homes that are in the Lawrence Harbor area. Next slide. the proposed plan creates a new AH2 zone, will include for sale single-family semi-detached dwelling units containing 1, 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, and 4-bedroom residential units, affordable to very low income, and moderate income family with preference for disabled veterans. There will be 12 such units. Next slide. This is the concept that was presented. Notice there will be 2 units. Each unit will have its individual lot. There is a driveway along within each lot that will contain 2 parking spaces. At the back, the tiny square you see is actually the attached shed, which is for each unit. There will be significant improvements along Lawrence Parkway, Woodland Avenue. There will be on-street parking as well on Lawrence Parkway and Woodland Avenue. We actually met with Middlesex County to discuss the type of improvements they would require around Lawrence Parkway, because Lawrence Parkway comes under their jurisdiction. Morris Habitat did work and take up their recommendations and revise the concept. What you see in front of you is the concept that includes Middlesex County's recommendations as well as the township's recommendations. Next slide. This is the preliminary elevation that was presented to us. I will be still working with the architect to improvise the elevation and make it look prettier than what you see on the screen. Next slide. That concludes my presentation. Like I said, this is consistent with our court-approved housing element and fair share plan. Habitat for Humanity is working with Middlesex County to secure the funds, the home grant funds that are administered by the county, and they seem to be very positive about getting those funds. So hopefully the project will come to fruition and we will see the affordable units built in the next year or 2. Thank you so much. I'll take any questions.
I just want to say that I hope this does come to fruition, because we were excited when the first Habitat for Humanity came up and wanted to work on this. And so I really do hope they're successful in getting whatever they need in order to make it a reality, because I think it's very much needed. Does anybody else have any questions or comments?
I have a comment.
I do.
I would just like to thank Vina for putting together 2 really nice presentations tonight. I'm really excited to see, how this all works out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
I do.
Yes.
Again, yes, Vina, 2 great presentations. This Habitat for Humanity is a lot more committed and detail oriented to bring this project to fruition, meeting with them a couple of times. It's a good project. It's good for the town. It's good for the community. So I'm for it.
Okay. So do we have unless there are any other questions, do we have a motion for to approve the consistency? Is that what we're approving? The ordinance consistency?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, it's the same review as we had at the last one. It's whether or not this is inconsistent with the master plan.
Okay, so we're saying it's okay. All right, do we have a motion?
I'll move it.
Okay, moved by Mr. De Palma,
A second. Mr. Petty?
Petty, all right. Roll call, please.
Mr. De Palma,
Yes.
Mr. Renner,
Yes.
Mr. Lauer,
Yes.
Mr. Mamakis,
Yes.
Mr. Schmitz,
Yes.
Mr. Lenning,
Yes.
Mr. Petty,
Yes.
Mr. Garcia,
Yes.
Chairwoman Cannon.
Yes. Okay, so I guess that's all our business, and then we'll open it up. Vina, do you have anything else that you wanted to
Yes, Chairwoman, there's one item for discussion. There was a tentative planning board meeting schedule for the next year that was shared with the board members. Dawn had circulated an email, and I just wanted to, since the dates are different, the day is different, I just wanted to take this opportunity to discuss with the board members. What has been happening this year is the township council meetings moved from Mondays to Tuesdays. It kind of, we had to go and revise the planning board schedule to make that happen. The few conflicts we had, there was a lot of moving around in the first first 1 or 2 months. I know our board attorney did have conflicts on certain days because that's not something he had planned when we approved our calendar at the end of 2020. And the other biggest issue is that planning board meetings and zoning board meetings both end up being in the same week. Ever since I have taken up the position as the township planner, I try my best not to outsource planning work, at least, because I truly believe that the township planner should be involved in most of the planning that happens in the township, because, you know, when it's an in-house planner, you have you're able to look at things which probably a consultant may not have had the opportunity or the chance to review. So most of the work is conducted in-house. With planning board, zoning board, both being in the same week, it becomes extremely tough for us to conduct reviews. Planning board is not affected as much, but majority of my zoning board review letters literally are emailed the day of the meeting, or sometimes at 3 p.m. right before the meeting. So I had brought this up with the business administrator and the mayor to see if there was a way we could move one of the board meetings. But zoning board meets twice a month, whereas planning board meets once. It was easier to move the planning board meeting to another day. I know Mr. Sardello was especially happy when I said that can we move, because he was having conflicts with some of the dates. And I reached out to our consultants as well to see what were their preference dates. I spoke to Mr. Sardello, I spoke to our business administrator, mayor, and we came up with the 4th Thursday. And I just wanted to explain why we had to move from the Tuesdays to the Thursdays. I think we will have a better flow of reviews, both in terms of planning board and the zoning board. I know Ms. Cannon has often complained to me, why is zoning board so busy and planning board is not getting many applications? Actually, planning board is going to be very, very busy in the coming year because the planning department has received bigger applications, and we might have to do some special meetings next year. But I know the planning board will be certainly very busy. I will be busy reviewing the application. So this helps all of us and all the professionals to have adequate time for reviewing and attending the meetings. And that's why it's a request that the planning board meeting moves to the 4th Thursday of the month.
Okay, does anybody
We
have
do not
any
have to make
comment?
any, we don't have to make any decision now. It was a discussion item. I just wanted to explain why these dates came up. Dawn was kind enough to put the dates together and set up the calendar so that we have something to look at and review.
All right, so if anybody has any comments, that's just would be helpful to Vina.
I do have a comment, and first, thank you for the explanation, because I was very curious as to the why for the readjustment. You know, when I looked at the dates for the fourth Thursday of every month. Unfortunately, 3 of the months, that date falls within a holiday week. I'm sure that one of the things we factor are holidays and where it's best to align proposed meetings. With the current plan for the first Tuesday, I believe it actually only occurred twice during the course of the year. So just from a discussion standpoint, do we have to be so extreme and go from the first Tuesday to the last Thursday? Is it possible to do the second week in lieu of the first Tuesday? It could be the second Tuesday of the month. Are there options in between?
Mr. Rena, actually, those days were picked based on our board attorney's availability as well as the consultant's availability. So I would have been perfectly all right with, for me, it's a night meeting and I have to do it. But because our consultants are not available on the second Tuesdays, we had to choose the the second Thursday, we had to choose the fourth Thursday. Wednesdays was an option, but we conduct court on those days, so we can pick Wednesday as the meeting night. We never conduct meetings on Fridays, so Friday's gone. The administration had told me that try not to schedule anything on a Monday, so we left the Mondays out. But that's how we ended up with the fourth Thursday. And if you notice, the time between the two meetings still remains the same. It's every 4 weeks we will be meeting.
Yeah, I see the November, the last Thursday in November, obviously due to Thanksgiving, got pushed to the first week of December. So I recognize that. All right, well.
Correct, and I had to make sure that we didn't have any Jewish holidays or anything like that, so that's why the calendar looked the way it did.
Yeah.
All right. So you're just going to take that information and move forward, or?
Sure, Dawn and I will review it one more time to see if there are any other holidays that we missed. We thought we took care of all of them, but
which holidays did the calendar affect? Because I went through it all.
I think when we look at globally for like the week of Memorial Day, the week of Christmas, those are 2 holidays that stand right out. We moved
right,
the one
but
from
when we did Tuesdays as well, we would have Labor Day. You would have
4th of July.
Right.
Right.
So it was difficult, I tried to make sure that it wasn't that many, but if we did it on a Tuesday as well, we still ran into the same issues.
Right, and that's why, quite frankly, I asked if there was the opportunity for the second week, because the likeliness of a holiday is either the first week or the fourth week of a month. It's very rare that it's the second week. It's only St. Patty's Day, quite frankly, and I don't think we all go out and celebrate it, although I do. But the second week of the month, you really don't have any holiday impact at all.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is that you have the zoning board meeting, right? The zoning board is the second Thursday?
Zoning board meetings are the first and third Thursdays of the month.
First and third.
We still have the second Thursday of the month open because there is a possibility that a developer may want a special meeting. And at that point, we will have to evaluate and see if the board attorney, any consultants are available to attend that second Tuesday. Thursday. The fourth Thursday is which worked for everybody, and that's why we chose that. We can still take a close look. I can chat with Mr. Sardello and see what his schedule looks like too, and the consultant, because we're trying to coordinate multiple people's schedule at the same time. If there is a preference not to have a meeting on a certain Thursday, we can also take a look into it, because if we don't have an application, Dawn and I try not to schedule it closer to holidays if there is nothing that is deemed complete or needs to be scheduled ASAP.
Vina, when do we have to know by to make the change that we have to start to put it out? We need to know in December, right?
No,
Right.
I really need to do the calendar by October, because if we cannot continue applications in January, if I don't have an
Totally no.
approved calendar that's been notified and advertised, I cannot put anything on in January if we don't advertise the calendar.
Okay, so Dawn, so by next meeting, we have to
By
make the
next
decision.
meeting, October
Okay.
5th, you guys would have to approve the calendar so that so they can advertise the meeting, because the dates have to be advertised.
Okay.
And that is precisely why we brought this up at this meeting, so that at least we have a discussion and then we can finalize something at the next meeting.
Okay, sounds good. So if there's nothing, no other comments by board members, we could open up to see if there's any general public comments. Anybody from the public listening in?
I see no one.
Okay. All right, so we'll close the public portion, and if no one, does anybody else have anything they want to bring up? Otherwise, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, roll call.
Mr. De Palma,
Yes.
Mr. Renner,
Yes.
Mr. Lauer,
Yes.
Mr. Mamakis,
Yes.
Mr. Schmitz,
Yes.
Mr. Lenning,
Yes.
Mr. Petty,
Yes.
Mr. Garcia,
Yes.
Chairwoman Cannon.
Yes. Thank you. See you next month.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you,
night,
everyone.
everyone.
Weekend, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.